And then we all know that we will inevitably meet again someday.
Please, Mommy!
In your opinion, why does the story begin precisely with this scene? Have you ever asked yourself that question? Why does the narrative open with Shizu's summoning to the Cardinal World? Before going any further, I would like to hear your thoughts in the comments. What is your interpretation of this narrative choice? Tell me everything. I'm reading you. Rimuru and his destiny are intimately tied to Shizu, the famous Shizu son, whose real name is Shizue Izawa. She embodies one of the most striking figures at the beginning of the story, a heroine with a tragic past yet an unbreakable heart. Despite the horrors she has endured, Shizu has never given up. She hates this cruel and merciless world of Tensura, yet she chooses to become an adventurer to save lives, accomplishing feat after feat and becoming a true legend among the heroes of this world. In the final volumes of the light novel, as in the manga and the anime, many secrets about her are revealed, and she even makes notable appearances later. That is why today, we are going to dive deeply into Shizu's complete profile, her heartbreaking past, her heroic achievements, and all the astonishing truths that have been revealed throughout the work. Nicknamed the Conqueror of Flames, Shizue Izawa, affectionately called Shizu-san, is a woman of gentle and peaceful temperament, endowed with immense kindness. With her long black hair and elegant beauty, she appears to be a young woman between the late teens and early 20s. And yet, she arrived in this world several decades ago, as an otherworlder from Japan. To stabilize her mana, which threatened to consume her, Demon Lord Leon granted her the greater fire spirit Ifrit. Unlike simple possession or use, Shizu fused with him through her skills, thereby obtaining Ifrit's immense power while retaining full control. This assimilation allows her to freely wield that colossal force, and it is precisely what has kept her youthful appearance frozen all this time, preserving her from aging. In her era, within the Adventurers Guild that prefigured the current Free Guild, Shizu was already considered one of the most powerful fighters. Treated as a true heroine, her overwhelming strength earned her the prestigious title of Conqueror of Flames. She practiced the profession of adventurer for a long time, accumulating legendary feats before retiring a few years ago. Once retired, she became a teacher at the Freedom Academy in Ingratiate, where she passed on her knowledge and wisdom. Among her students was notably Hinata Sakaguchi, the future leader of the Holy Knights, who had just arrived in this world as an otherworlder. Shizu played a decisive role in Hinata's life, offering her guidance, strength, and profound influence. Her last students also included Chloe Aubert, as well as the 4 other prodigies of Class S, Kenya, Ryota, Gale, and Alice. They all adored her sincerely. She was an exemplary teacher, loved and respected wholeheartedly by her 5 protégés. Later in Volume 23, when Rimuru returns to Japan's past to save Shizu, he also saves his own previous self, Satoru Mikami, before his reincarnation. After that, he grants him a portion of his multi-parallel consciousness, a parallel existence. Thus he awakens as Satoru, the 3 gods, or Divine Trinity, and hears from his family the accounts about his own past. And then comes the shocking revelation. Satoru's grandmother is none other than Shizu herself. This discovery at that precise moment is absolutely staggering. The fact that this information arrives exactly when it is needed implies that the laws of time, the famous law of Veldanova, or law of causality, have been adjusted to prevent any temporal inconsistency. At that precise instant, Rimuru has transcended the very structure of the Tensura multiverse. He now stands above everything, freed from the laws that govern reality and chronology. He has reached what is called acausality. To understand this, one must grasp the absolute paradox of his existence. It is the death of Satoru Mikami that originally gave birth to Rimuru. But by returning to the past to prevent that death, Rimuru erased his own cause. If Satoru does not die, where is Rimuru's beginning? The answer is simple. He no longer has one. He has neither beginning nor end. He has extracted himself from the temporal loop to become a perfect singularity. He has transcended every possible form of existence. Perhaps Shizu herself worked behind the scenes so that everything would align perfectly. On her side, in the parallel world where she lived after receiving a body from Rimuru, she inherits a potion and legendary weapons that allow her to survive and prosper in this era of post-war chaos. A heroine recognized even across parallel worlds, Shizu undoubtedly faces countless trials with her legendary courage and unshakable strength. Ultimately, she meets the man who will become Satoru's grandfather, marries him, and before dying peacefully, entrusts a testamentary letter to Satoru, the three gods. It is a moving and poignant loop. Let us return to her tragic origins. At only 8 years old, in the heart of the Second World War, Shizu desperately flees a Japanese city ravaged by fire bombings. Surrounded by devouring flames, driven into despair, a voice suddenly resounds in her mind. Do you wish to live? If you desire life, answer my call. Without hesitation, terrified by the fire yet refusing to die, she accepts the summoning. Thus, she obtains the extra skills fire manipulation and fire attack nullification and is summoned into the world of Tensura. Upon her arrival, she finds herself before Demon Lord Leon Cromwell. Gravely burned and on the brink of death, she sees Leon look at her with disappointment and prepare to leave. Mad with rage and despair, she shouts at him, "Liar! You asked me if I wanted to live, and now you abandon me?" Touched by her fierce will, Leon then summons the Holy Spirit Ifrit and has it possess her body. If she accepts complete fusion, her life will be saved. But she will become a Majin, losing her humanity. Shizu categorically refuses. She wants to live, but not at the cost of losing her identity. Thanks to this, she acquires the unique skill Degenerate, which allows her to stabilize her mana while coexisting with Ifrit without being overwhelmed, thus preserving her ego and her humanity. At first, it was Ifrit who took total control of Shizu's body, but thanks to Leon, who finally gave her a name in this world, the name Shizu, she managed to take back the reins of her own body. From that moment on, she became the close collaborator and faithful foil of Demon Lord Leon Cromwell, occupying a privileged place at his side. In Leon's manor, children of the same age as her were gathered, all summoned through incomplete summonings for a precise and mysterious purpose that the Demon Lord pursued. Among them, Shizu formed a deep friendship with a young girl named Pirino. Together, they took under their wing a young fox that Pirino was secretly raising. They gave it the affectionate name Pisu. Full of hope, the two friends decided to bring Pisu before Leon so that he would officially recognize it as a magical beast in his service. But when they presented themselves before the Demon Lord, the overwhelming aura of his power and his Demon Lord's haki terrified little Pisu, who instinctively displayed hostility toward Leon. That aggression instantly awakened Ifrit inside Shizu. Unable to resist, she once again lost control of her body. In an uncontrollable outburst, Ifrit unleashed his infernal flames and incinerated Pirino and Pisu before Shizu's horrified eyes, reducing them both to ashes in an instant. Shizu was on the verge of madness, screaming inwardly in despair and grief. Yet Ifrit forcibly imposed an icy calm upon her mind, preventing her from completely collapsing. It was at that moment that she understood, with infinite pain, she was no longer human. She would never again be able to aspire to the ordinary happiness of normal people. This realization plunged her into an abyss of absolute despair. Despite her immense talent with the sword, a gift so exceptional that she was recognized even by the greatest masters, when the masked hero made her appearance and launched her assault against Leon's castle, Shizu was left behind, regarded as nothing more than a mere puppet. But the masked hero, who was in fact Hinata in Chloe's body, endowed with extraordinary insight, immediately noticed that she was being manipulated by the greater fire spirit. Rather than eliminating her, she chose to protect her. She then handed her the famous anti-magic mask, an artifact capable of effectively suppressing Ifrit's magical power. As soon as the mask was placed upon her face, the emotions that had been suppressed for so long exploded. Shizu collapsed into heart-wrenching sobs in the arms of the hero, finally releasing all the suffering accumulated over decades. After this episode, the hero introduced her to the Adventurers Guild of Bloomond, and thus Shizu began her new life as an independent adventurer. She spent her days in the guild's waiting hall, patiently studying while awaiting the hero's return. With the mask upon her face, she gradually learned to coexist with Ifrit, to tame his destructive power. Over time, she perfectly mastered the flames of the greater spirit and was even able to teach without resorting to complete fusion. She became an elementalist specialized in explosive magic, particularly fire magic, and her nickname Conqueror of Flames spread throughout the entire adventurer world. She was even chosen to join the hero's traveling companion team, finally forming a group where she no longer felt alone. For the first time in a long while, she tasted the warmth of true camaraderie. But a few years later, without a word of explanation, the hero departed alone, leaving Shizu behind. Becoming solitary once more, she decided to dedicate her life to helping those who suffered as she had suffered. She traveled across kingdoms, rescuing the oppressed, saving lives, and eventually came to be recognized as a true heroine by many nations, a figure one could rely upon in times of crisis. When a Calamity-class dragon appeared in Bloomond, she had to awaken Ifrit for the first time in a long while. But at that time, her mana reserves had significantly diminished, and her spirit was weakening with age. Controlling Ifrit became extremely difficult. After falling into a coma for an entire week, Shizu made the irrevocable decision to retire. She consulted Hines of the Adventurers Guild, and on his advice, she accepted the position of teacher at the Freedom Academy of the Kingdom of Ingratia, choosing from then on to pass down her knowledge and educate the next generation. All of this takes place about 50 years before Rimuru's reincarnation into the Cardinal World. Even at that time, Shizu was already so powerful that she was already nicknamed the Conqueror of Flames. One day, she received an urgent request and went to the Kingdom of Filtwood. In the castle, an impressive crowd of high-level adventurers had been gathered. The mission: eliminate a demon that had just resurrected. The atmosphere was heavy, laden with suspicion. The actions of the kingdom's officials seemed, to say the least, questionable. Yet Shizu remained calm. She raised her hand and calmly asked a crucial question to the adult leading the meeting. This demon? Does it have a name? For any experienced adventurer, it was obvious. A monster that possesses a name gains exponential power. If this demon already had a name, it could very well rival an archdemon. The man replied, "There is no indication that this demon possesses a name." Shizu thought quickly. Without a name, it had probably not yet reached the rank of archdemon, and in that case, it was very unlikely that a nameless demon could defeat the Silver Wings. She therefore judged that the situation remained manageable. Suddenly, several adventurers, sensing the smell of a trap, tried to leave the Great Hall, but the captain of the knights intercepted them and cleanly cut one of them down. Before the horrified eyes of the assembly, the unfortunate man's body split apart and a lesser demon burst out, immediately struck down by the soldiers' spells. Panic threatened to erupt. Shizu and the other adventurers went on guard, wondering whether all of this was not a stage setup meant to push the adventurers to kill one another and reveal the demons infiltrated among them. It was then that a hooded man, whose presence even Shizu had not perceived, burst into sinister laughter. He addressed the adult in charge in a calm voice. "You have done everything to make us believe that a demon was hiding here so that we would distrust one another and be unable to cooperate, haven't you?" Then, turning toward the captain of the knights, "Know that I have no intention of obeying you, nor of participating in your little self-staged comedy." The hooded man, in a calm voice yet filled with chilling confidence, as if he already knew all the secrets of this masquerade, declared, "Call me simply Noir, if you prefer. I am the bearer of a message from an old acquaintance." He revealed without hesitation that it was indeed a human of this kingdom who had summoned the lesser demon, and that the real objective of this staging was to push the adventurers to slaughter one another in order to hunt an imaginary demon. Shizu, immediately perceiving the danger and refusing to let everyone be massacred, stepped in front of the man. She asked him in a firm voice, "Who exactly are you?" He replied with an enigmatic smile, "Noir, let us say. I come from an old acquaintance." And thus began the legendary duel between Shizu and Noir. Shizu launched her powerful Inferno Flame, an infernal flame attack that she had perfectly mastered at that time. Noir took the blow without flinching, finally revealing his true nature, a demon of abyssal power. He approached to finish it quickly, but the anti-magic mask exerted an infinite temporal pressure, a force that seemed to defy time itself.
That mask, that time compression, no, could it be infinity? I get it. I can only assume your mask suppresses time.
Under that crushing constraint, Noir saw his right arm literally torn away, blown apart by temporal distortion. Intrigued, Noir murmured these mysterious words before disappearing into the shadows. This mask, it seems to transcend time itself. Around her, people acclaimed Shizu as a victorious heroine. But she, with her keen instinct, had perfectly understood. Noir had deployed only a fraction of his power. He had withdrawn, voluntarily sparing her life, and she was secretly relieved. After this confrontation, Shizu was summoned by the king himself. There, the terrible truth came to light. The famous hero Orthos, who had supposedly sealed the demon 100 years ago, was none other than the demon himself. The king, the minister, and all the high dignitaries were his servants, demonic vassals. Exhausted from the previous battle, Shizu was attacked to serve as a sacrifice and fuel their power. Despite her exhausted mana, Shizu drew her sword without hesitation, refusing to submit. But against a greater demon and without recovery, she was in an extremely unfavorable position. Orthos then revealed himself as a legendary archdemon. He proudly explained how, through the artificial faith of the people who regarded him as a hero, he had absorbed the collective voice of the kingdom to self-name himself and evolve to the rank of archdemon by his own means. Cornered, Shizu was about to let Ifrit run completely wild when Noir suddenly reappeared. With disconcerting ease, he slaughtered the king and the minister, both endowed with the protection of a greater demon, in the blink of an eye. Then, facing Orthos, he said in a contemptuous tone, "Demons of the Rouge lineage are far too arrogant. That is why they overestimate their strength and cannot even properly evaluate their opponent. Seeing their leader, it is no surprise that they are all arrogant in their lineage." He destroyed Orthos' body and soul, annihilating his existence so completely that no resurrection would ever again be possible, even after centuries. Thus, the demons who secretly ruled the kingdom of Filtwood were exterminated in a single stroke. The king and his ministers perished at the hands of Noir. Officially, the records reported that it was Shizu who had defeated Noir and saved the kingdom. In reality, she knew perfectly well that she could have done nothing against him. She simply told herself that one day, someone more powerful would deal with that unfathomable demon. This affair, although official in the anime via episode 24 of season 1, Black and a Mask, counts among Shizu's great feats. That gives me an idea. What if we went through the entire series again from the beginning, to rediscover the details, the mysteries we may have missed, and deepen even further our understanding of this work we love? Tell me what you think in the comments. Later, in Ingratiate, she had the opportunity to train brilliant students, including Yuuki Kagurazaka and Hinata Sakaguchi. Yuuki, always positive and full of energy, worked to create a relationship of mutual support between the kingdom and the guild, laying the foundations of a new organization. With Shizu's precious help, he transformed the former Adventurers Guild, once fragmented into 50 disparate guilds, into a unified and refined entity, the Free Guild, a major achievement that changed the adventurer world forever. Hinata, introverted by nature and marked by the darkness of the world, eagerly absorbed Shizu's techniques before departing. Shizu could only tell her, "If you ever lose your way, do not hesitate to come find me." Hinata later became a legendary holy knight, saving countless lives. Time passed. Shizu began to dream of the period when she served Leon, and she felt that she was gradually losing control over Ifrit. She understood that she did not have much time left to live. Resolute, she decided to depart on one final journey. After making her heartbreaking farewells to Chloe Aubert and the other children, she addressed one last complaint to Leon in her heart, then undertook this journey to finally soothe her tormented soul. In the kingdom of Bloomund, Heinz had retired, and his son Fusa had become the guildmaster. Shizu was considering going to the Great Forest of Jura. She presented herself to Eren, Kabaru, and Guido, the three eccentric adventurers. She encountered them in the streets of Bloomund and approached them directly. Shizu joined their group as a traveling companion to head toward the Great Forest of Jura, thus beginning her final journey. The journey was fraught with obstacles, including a particularly dangerous giant hunt. But the joyful and tightly knit company of the three companions brought Shizu an unexpected happiness. She told herself that if she had to finish her path with someone, those three were the best possible choice. In the midst of one of these misadventures, weakened and in critical danger, she was saved by Rimuru. Thus occurred their fateful meeting. Once she arrived in Tempest under Riguru's protection, Shizu, still masked, Night, was casually eating barbecue, passing the meat directly over the mask with impressive dexterity. When Rimuru introduced himself saying, "I'm not a bad slime, okay? I'm a good little slime," she could not help, bursting into laughter, immediately convinced that he was, like her, an otherworlder. And thus Shizu began to form deep bonds with Rimuru. She wandered through Tempest in wonder, discovering this nascent nation where monsters and humans coexisted in harmony. Little by little, a feeling of peace and serenity filled her heart that had been tormented for so long. But suddenly, the limit was reached. Her spirit, worn down by decades of inner struggle, finally gave way. Ifrit regained total control, subjecting Shizu to complete mental domination. In this state of uncontrollable carnage, Ifrit summoned powerful salamanders and turned against Rimuru, Eren, Kabaru, and Gido, attacking them with devastating fury. For Ifrit, Rimuru, immune to fire thanks to the resistances he had acquired during his reincarnation, represented the absolute enemy, his natural predator. The battle was brief and decisive. Ifrit was defeated in no time, absorbed by Rimuru via his unique skill Predator. Immediately, Shizu regained control of her body, freed from the fire spirit's hold. Awakened from that forced slumber, Shizu knew that the time she had left was limited. Very limited. She chose to spend her final moments in Rimuru's company, in an intimate and moving conversation. She told him everything. Her inevitable aging despite her frozen appearance, her deep regrets, her resentment toward this cruel world that had made her suffer so much, and all the sorrows she had carried within her since her arrival. She, who had always hated this world and refused to become an integral part of it, made a poignant request to Rimuru. Devour me. She wanted her existence to end within Rimuru's infinite stomach, in order to finally find eternal rest. Rimuru accepted, and Shizu fell peacefully asleep within that protective space. In this eternal sleep, Shizu saw again the hero who had once saved her, as well as her own mother. Having become an innocent little girl once more, she walked toward the promised land, a place of peace she had always sought without ever finding. Later, within Chloe's soul, where a part of her now resided, Shizu reunited with Rimuru. She thanked him from the bottom of her heart for having kept his promise. She tenderly caressed the head of the hero that Chloe was, or rather Chronoa, Chloe's heroic aspect, and affirmed with conviction that Hinata, imprisoned within infinite prison, had not disappeared. These words became the spark that pushed Rimuru to do everything to save Hinata. Once freed, Hinata and Shizu were finally able to reunite and fully reconcile. Hinata confessed the true reason for her distance. She did not want to become a burden to her beloved teacher, fearing she would cause her more worry. Shizu, who had always understood this feeling, welcomed her with infinite gentleness, without the slightest reproach. Thanks to these events, Shizu finally discovered the truth about this world, and for the first time, she was able to love it a little. "I no longer have any regrets," she murmured with a serene and satisfied smile, before fading away forever, her face illuminated by a profound peace. The title, Conqueror of Flames, alone testifies to her exceptional level of power. Having traveled alongside the hero for a time, she inherited part of her techniques and know-how. But irony of fate. The hero's abilities themselves largely originate from Shizu through the time loops, yet another of those strange causalities that run throughout the work. Her combat style perfectly blended explosive fire attacks and refined sword mastery, overwhelming her opponents with a devastating combination of raw power and surgical precision. Among her skills, the most important is the unique skill Degenerate. She also possesses special sword skills, Separation, which divides a substance into distinct elements, and Synthesis, which fuses multiple substances into a single unified entity. It is precisely thanks to these abilities that she was able to exploit Ifrit's power without transforming into a complete Magen, preserving her humanity. From the moment of her summoning, she had acquired the extra skills Fire Manipulation and Fire Attack Immunity. At her peak in the previous century, she was capable, by combining Fire Manipulation and Degenerate, of casting alone Fire-type strike magic spells, normally requiring multiple mages, without suffering the slightest backlash or side effect. That concludes this complete spotlight on Shizu, the heroine known as the Conqueror of Flames. What did you think? The revelations from the most recent light novel volumes were truly shocking, weren't they? Even though she appears at the very beginning of the story, her influence on Yuuki, and indirectly on everything else, is immense. She can truly be described as a partner of destiny for Rimuru. We will undoubtedly see her again in future seasons of the anime and chapters of the manga, so stay tuned. If you enjoyed this video, or if you have opinions, theories, or feelings about Shizu, feel free to leave a comment just below. Thank you so much for watching until the end.